When you're pinned down in hostile territory with the enemy outnumbering you 20-1, there's no glory, no medals, no speeches, just the raw taste of fear mixed with gunpowder and the silent prayer that maybe, just maybe, you'll live to see another sunrise. This is not a movie. This is the reality Navy SEALs face when missions go south, when the easy in, easy out briefing turns into a nightmare ambush that leaves men thinking their last thought, "Dear God, save us." But on this day, when everything seemed lost, when every SEAL thought the chapter of their lives was about to close, fate sent in a ghost from the shadows, a sniper whose presence was unknown, unseen, and yet whose rifle shots would shift the tide of a battle that was already decided. Before I tell you what happened, hit that subscribe button so you never miss these untold stories of courage and survival, the kind that America and Britain need to remember, because behind every flag are warriors who bled for it. The Afghan. Dawn broke over the jagged ridges of Helmand Province as SEAL Team 9 advanced silently, their boots stirring thin clouds of dust, while Commander Jack Mercer, a battle-hardened leader whose instincts never lied, scanned the valley below through binoculars, knowing the calm was deceptive. Their mission was to capture a high-value Taliban financier hidden in a mud compound, but the stillness in the air and the absence of villagers spoke of danger, and soon Henderson, his sharp-eyed lieutenant, spotted the telltale glint of a PKM machine gun across the ridge just seconds before it opened fire, shattering stone and ripping the desert silence apart as enemy fighters poured from hidden positions, outnumbering the SEALs at least 20-1. Cutting off comms and pushing them into a desperate firefight where Torres's grenades silenced one nest only for two more to blaze to life, Miller was cut across the face with rock shards, and O'Connor bled from shrapnel in his leg while Henderson fought to stop the bleeding, all while the sun rose higher, cooking them under its weight, and as the valley erupted with RPGs, tracer fire, and war cries, Mercer realized the intel had been wrong. The compound was bait, and this was a trap meant to annihilate them, leaving him staring at his outnumbered men with the same words echoing in their minds, "Dear God, save us," when suddenly, without warning, a single sharp rifle crack echoed from the distance, dropping an enemy machine gunner where he stood. Then another shot felled another fighter, and the SEALs froze in disbelief, realizing that someone else, unseen and unknown, a ghost sniper hidden in the battlefield, had just joined the fight. The valley that had moments ago felt like a tomb, for SEAL Team 9 suddenly shifted as precise rifle cracks tore through the chaos, each shot striking with surgical accuracy, dropping enemy fighters before they could even scream. And for a split second, Mercer and his men felt the surreal realization that someone unseen was covering them. An unknown sniper who fired with the kind of skill only elite marksmen possessed, turning the battlefield into a chessboard where each enemy piece was being methodically removed. Yet the SEALs had no idea who he was, where he came from, or why he was here, only that his bullets had bought them seconds of breathing room, and in those seconds, Henderson barked orders to redistribute ammo and patch wounds, while Torres scouted for an exit path through the crumbling ridges. But every time, the Taliban regrouped and surged forward. The ghost sniper struck again, silencing machine gunners, dropping RPG operators, and even hitting spotters before they could reveal his position. His presence, a mystery that sowed panic among the enemy and renewed courage in the SEALs. Though Mercer couldn't shake the question of how an Allied shooter had ended up in the exact place and time to save them, and whether this was truly luck or a deeper game at play. For the Taliban were not amateurs, and their ambush had been carefully laid with intelligence leaks pointing to betrayal at the highest level, making Mercer suspect that their ghost ally might not be entirely unknown after all. But until answers came, survival was the only goal. So with firepower thinning on the enemy's side and a hidden guardian covering their retreat, Mercer signaled his men to prepare for a fighting withdrawal through a narrow gully to the east, praying the sniper's deadly hand would continue to carve open a path unaware that what waited beyond the ridges was far darker than he imagined, and that this mysterious shooter was about to turn the mission from a disaster into a story none of them would ever forget. The SEALs moved in a staggered retreat through the narrow gully, bullets sparking off the rocks around them as Henderson dragged the wounded O'Connor while Torres laid suppressive fire, and every time the enemy tried to flank, the hidden sniper struck with unerring precision. But as the team pushed deeper eastward, Mercer's gut tightened because the ambush had been too perfect. The enemy knew their route, their timing, even their extraction point, which meant the betrayal wasn't random. It came from someone with access to mission details, and while he kept his suspicions buried to keep morale alive, the weight of it gnawed at him with every step, until the team emerged into a ravine, where they were supposed to rendezvous with a drone-guided exfil, only to find the site crawling with hostiles already setting up heavy weapons, confirming Mercer's darkest fear that someone within their chain of command had sold them out. But before despair could finish the job, the hidden sniper unleashed hell from above, his rifle echoing across the canyon as Taliban fighters dropped in confusion, allowing the SEALs to seize the high ground and fight like cornered wolves. Yet, in the smoke and gunfire, Mercer caught sight of something that froze him. On the sniper's ridge, briefly illuminated by the flash of his rifle, was the silhouette of a man he once knew, a man who had vanished years ago in a classified mission. Gone wrong, presumed dead, a legendary marksman named Kane, who had been Mercer's closest friend and whose betrayal back then had haunted the SEAL community. And in that heartbeat, Mercer's world tilted. For if it truly was Kane saving them, then the question wasn't just how he survived, but whether he was here to protect them or to settle a score buried in blood and silence. And as the firefight thundered on with dust choking the valley and lives hanging by threads, Mercer realized that their salvation might also be the very ghost of their greatest betrayal. The canyon burned with fire and echoes of war as the SEALs, battered and bleeding, fought tooth and nail against waves of enemies who seemed determined to bury them alive beneath Hellman's jagged stone, and all the while the hidden sniper kept raining precise death from above, breaking charges, silencing mortars, and carving open seconds of survival, until Mercer, pinned beneath the crumbling edge of the ridge, finally locked eyes on the shooter's silhouette and saw with certainty what he had dreaded. Kane, his old friend, the legend thought lost years ago in a botched mission that had ended in blood and whispers of treason, a man whose ghost had haunted Mercer ever since, now alive and wielding his rifle like a reaper of war, and in that instant, 1,000 questions raged inside him. Had Kane betrayed them back then, or had he been betrayed? Had he turned rogue, or had command buried the truth? And most of all, why was he here now, saving the very men who once cursed his name? But there was no time for answers, because the Taliban launched one final furious assault, RPGs screaming, machine guns blazing, fighters pouring from every ledge like ants. And the SEALs, nearly out of ammo and hope, dug in for what felt like their last stand, whispering their final prayers. Dear God, save us. When Kane unleashed a storm of fire so precise and devastating that the enemy line collapsed into panic. Their commanders cut down before they could rally, their fighters scattering under the invisible hand of death. And in the chaos, an extraction bird finally broke through the static, guided by coordinates Kane himself had relayed, swooping low with its guns roaring as Mercer dragged his team toward salvation, Henderson limping with O'Connor slung over. His back, Torres firing until his last magazine clicked empty, and as they boarded the bird under covering fire, Mercer turned back toward the ridge, hoping to see Kane one last time. But the sniper was gone, vanished into dust and legend, leaving only the echo of his rifle and the bodies of their enemies as proof he had ever been there, and as the Black Hawk lifted into the sky with the battered SEALs safe at last, Mercer clenched his fists, torn between gratitude and fury, knowing the world would never believe what he had seen. that their survival had been written not by God alone, but by a ghost sniper who had once been brother, traitor, and savior. And as the valley shrank beneath them, he whispered into the roar of the blades, "Cain, why?" A question that would haunt him forever, for the tide had turned, the SEALs had lived, but the war between truth and betrayal had only just begun.